I think personally I'm not naive.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because the blackout blind
stuff's going on.
It's just fallen down. So my guest today is my favourite singer from The Voice, my favourite artist. It's Jordan Gray.
That's a really sweet introduction.
It's very true as well, because my boyfriend and I, we were sat on that very couch just in front of us, because you've very kindly come to my home here, and we were egging you on. We wanted you to win.
Thank you. Bless you.
You did win in our eyes.
Oh, well, that's a nice way of thinking about it. You know what? I actually left the competition exactly when I wanted to. That was exactly the time I wanted to leave. Like, obviously, another week would have been great, but for those poor 4 that were in the final, that week was hell for them. They had so much work to do. And I'm not a lazy person, but I don't think I could have handled another week on the show.
How was it for you? Because I heard you say, I think you were quoted as saying it was an emotional roller coaster, The Voice.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as your viewers might know, I was the first person that didn't get a turn and then got brought back in the same season. So it was a bit of a Cinderella story. And I cried all the way home that night. I've never cried so much in my life when I didn't get through. And then to get that phone call, it's like, I don't know if I can go through that again. So it was weird. When I got the call to come back, I didn't know what to say. I
guess Paloma as well, because she's quite emotionally involved in your performance, which is great, because you need somebody that is really behind you 100% as a judge.
Yeah, she spent the whole time just bigging us up and making us feel like we were part of her team, that it wasn't just a formality for television. We really felt like she was behind us, and she still is, you know.
Yeah. What did you learn from her?
Basically to not worry about my gender coming out in my performance. I always used to think, you know, because I only transitioned really recently and my voice is sort of relatively low, my singing voice. I still do Johnny Cash sometimes as well, in the original register, because I just like it. She just said, don't worry about it, especially with a song like Kate Bush, because of course I did This Woman's Work. I'm looking at the camera like, I'm being well professional.
You're total pro. Yeah, I was going to mention This Woman's Work because I love Kate Bush, and I was going to ask you if you were a fan, because you did the track with, you did the performance with Theo.
Yeah.
And it was very emotional, and that's the sort of song, and it's the type of artist, Kate Bush, that not everybody does brilliantly, and you did do it brilliantly.
Thank you. It was an uphill struggle, not for Theo. Theo's voice is just so pristine. For me, I heard when we were told we were going to sing it, I thought yes, and then when I actually heard it in the register and started, I was like, oh no, I'm going home. I just got here and I'm going straight home. It wasn't our choice. The battles are chosen for us to give everyone equal footing, which makes perfect sense. And I'm so glad we did, because it forced us to work really hard together. And it wasn't a battle either. It was just a duet. We just said, let's just do it and see what happens.
It felt really natural. It felt really... I think it was very flattering to the original, flattering to Kate Bush.
She said she liked it, actually.
Oh,
Kate.
did she?
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you that. Yeah. So did she get in touch with you? Did you approach
via
her?
Paloma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she told her in passing that she was very proud of it, which is
so you got the approval from
emotional.
Kate Bush. That's amazing. Yeah. Platinum is the single.
Yeah. It's the first song that I've done since The Voice, first thing I've put out. It's actually the first thing I've ever put out under my own name, which is really nice. I've been Tall Dark Friend for 10 years, and this is my first. This is kind of a debut. So that's cool.
And it's amazing.
Bless you.
I love the passion in it. I love because it's intense, isn't it, as a song?
I think it is, but then I still don't realise sometimes, like, I don't think I shout, but I do, I have a raspiness that comes out when I'm really aggressive about stuff.
Would you consider theatre?
I would. And I was offered a few. It's just, it's never going to work on the schedule that we're at now. But some sort of, even West End stuff. Typecast, obviously, there's sort of trans parts that are being offered about, and I think that I'm probably... I don't treat passing as female as a requirement in my life whatsoever. I'm actually... trans is not a third gender. If you're trans, you're either male or female. But I don't get that privilege of being just a woman, because I've been on telly as a trans person. Hopefully that means one day people won't have to. But for me, I'm a trans person.
Sure.
I look like a trans person in my mind, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the journey. So I do get typecast as trans characters.
So would you be flattered if you were offered a trans role, or would you be quite picky about their specifics? Because certain people, I would imagine, would offer you something because it was a trans role, whereas the trans role obviously would show the human side, and then they might be very sensitive about that. So
no, I think I can compartmentalise on stage. I wouldn't. I found a lot of things I've actually been offered work. What they were looking for was a drag queen, and they didn't realise. Right. And that's a big thing. I love drag queens. They are hilarious. I'm just not one.
Very different.
Very, very different. Very different. Obviously different things, and people still haven't bridged that divide. I share the stage with drag queens every week. You know, I play all the prides, so we get some wonderful drag queens, and then me. I say I'm just not one. So I'm not a fabulous character, for example. I'm wearing a cap and jeans right now. I'm not in feathers and a boa, because I'm not a performer. It's my life. Like, I'm just a woman.
So another very important subject is your album.
Yeah. So I just signed to a record label, not just a record label, the record label. They're a new indie label. I love them. They're trying new stuff, and basically I just signed for a 3-single deal with a view to an album, you know, if things go well, and they're going really well.
The Florence cover you did on The Voice, going back to The Voice, you must get kind of annoyed about talking about The Voice.
No, I'm proud of it. I really love it. Yeah.
Because that's how people know you, I guess. A lot of people know you.
Sure.
I'm not talking about everybody, but
more people are going to know me from that than, I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's crazy. It's like a 6 million, I think, averaging of an evening primetime BBC.
Yeah.
Nobody gets that chance. I'm the luckiest person, honestly.
It's great exposure, isn't it?
The Florence again, she gave her regards. She said she really liked it.
That's
really
amazing.
Cool.
And you were barefoot.
Right.
In your performance.
Yeah. Just couldn't jump around like that. You know what? I'm not a natural dancer at all. I don't dance. I never took dance or anything. But then when we decided to have a little boogie or get me out from behind the piano, I thought, well, I've got to do something. So I started running around the stage and doing the craziness.
You were proper skipping. I loved it. I was watching it back yesterday to remind myself before the interview.
Yeah.
And I kind of noticed it when I was watching it live, but when you jump up onto the little mini platforms that you had on the stage and you're kind of doing your little skip, it was almost kind of like an Irish jig.
A bit of that, bit of Jackson in there as well, a little bit of everything. I'll tell you a really weird fact about that. I was wearing the red suit, which I really loved because it basically, we took apart gender stereotype, you know. They were going to put me in a dress. I was like, no, let's wear a suit, Annie Lennox, you know.
Yes.
And in The Voice Vietnam, you'll see a clip. There was a bit of thing in this Voice Vietnamese newspaper. A contestant from The Voice Vietnam wearing a red suit with a blindfold in the exact same setup as that, either a year ago or 6 months prior. Spookiest coincidence in the world, because I decided on a suit, Paloma decided on the roses, therefore we had a red suit and a blindfold. That's just happened on its own. Exactly the same setup on The Voice Vietnam. It was really weird when you see the pictures next to each other.
Do you embrace contemporary music? Are you into a lot of modern artists, or is it
very much so? Oh yeah, absolutely. I think classic music and jazz tells a story because it's an overarching thing. It's not designed to be bite-sized, for example. But no, I love contemporary stuff. I'm really into 21 Pilots at the moment are doing extremely well. I find they did the theme tune famously for the new Suicide Squad movie. I'm a bit of a superhero nerd as well.
Right, okay.
But yeah, their earlier stuff. Go back and listen to their earlier stuff if you guys are into it. No, I am. I'm super into contemporary stuff. In fact, because we're making pop now, which I love pop. I love the crafting of a perfect pop tune. Katy Perry's California Girls is one of the most perfectly crafted pieces of pop in the history of pop music. It might not be to everyone's taste. It might not be the deepest thing ever, but as a piece of pop, it's perfect.
We have to talk about Under Construction, that amazing photo shoot that you've just done for is it for the single, for the album?
It was just for a laugh. No,
just general.
We just did it as a general thing. It just seemed to lend itself to a lot of the stuff, and then we used it to build the website. All the images now have got that construction tape over.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we had all the microphones from every different direction, because it just shows that thing of being that vulnerable, and yet everyone wants to ask you about all the time. It's all they want to ask about, you know. They put it on the front of the official leaflets and stuff for the National Transgender Festival in Manchester, Sparkle. I loved it. I think it's a really fantastic image, and yet there was some controversy. They said, it's maybe mildly too sexual. There's nothing sexual about it.
It's power more than anything, isn't it?
Everything's covered, and that's kind of the point. That was the whole idea, is that, am I any less a woman for being in the process of becoming more cis-normatively like a woman?
What can you tell us about the album that you haven't told anybody else? Is that possible?
Sure. I think it's much more electronic than anything I've done before, which is really cool. That said, the guys that do it actually that are organising the strings, they do the strings, for example, for like MasterChef and Bake Off, so it's very intense. Imagine like Bread Week. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
they're the ones doing the strings behind. So when you hear Platinum and you hear that big orchestral score, you're hearing something that, it's sort of television style strings, which I really like, because nobody really does that. So that's cool.
Excellent. And the album's coming out, did you say next year?
Most definitely next year. You'll be hearing the second single by February, I reckon.
You're ahead of it, aren't you? You're planning the next single already.
The new video, we just finished editing yesterday, and we're starting the new one in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Where can people find you online?
Everything /Tall Dark Friend, because that was my stage name, or alternatively, obviously you can visit the official website, jordangrayofficial.com.
Excellent. Jordan, it's amazing seeing you today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully we'll see you when the next single's out on the album.
We neglected you. I want to say goodbye properly. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Bye. All right, yeah, there is a country singer to my knowledge, and a rapper somewhere here in London as well.
Can't believe that's just come down again. Just carry on, it's fine.